Hey everybody, it's Mr. Bowers and I'm here with Daulton. How's it going, Daulton?
Going pretty good. Just hanging out, getting through quarantine and
Yeah,
going through this nonsense.
like everybody else, like
Yeah,
everybody else.
yeah, for sure.
So hey, part of what we want to talk about today is music, obviously, and how we're all connected to that. So the first thing I want to ask you is, how have things been going at Tiffin?
They've been going really, really well. My first semester, I picked up vocal lessons on top of playing drums and stuff. I've really just been trying to dig into as many instrumental things as I can, trying to pick up as much as I can to kind of expand my music knowledge outside of just like drums and percussion and stuff. And then I've been playing a lot more mallet percussion, which is new for me from the past few years. I've mostly stuck to like drumline, snare, bass, cymbals stuff, and it's been neat to kind of branch out. And I figured out that I have a knack for piano. Like I picked up a lot. I was able to figure out like chords and things pretty quick, and performances have been really fun. I'm a part of the small group jazz ensemble there, which is neat. I play drum set for that. And then outside of that, I'm also in the songwriting ensemble. I'm their live sound engineer. So I go to their like performances and stuff, and I sit behind the mixer and make sure everything's balanced out to the audience. So
So what type of things, you talk about live sound. What are some things that you maybe picked up in music technology class that helped carry over into the live sound, or maybe that you worked on in the auditorium while you were at Benjamin Logan that helped you out?
yeah, definitely just like getting comfortable with a mixer board in general. That was like a very first like baseline thing that was good to learn, because they just kind of threw me in. They were just like, okay, so this person's on this channel, this person's on this channel, and they went through and like they labeled everything, and then they were just like, okay, go. And I was just like, all right, first performance in, and it was a really neat experience. It was a good learning experience too. So that the mixer board was probably the biggest part of knowledge that I've collected so far. So.
Great. Awesome. So let's go back to the beginning. Um, why music? Why did you decide to pursue all this?
Yeah, so I guess pursuing music as like a potential career for me like started really, really late for me. I remember was in it was this past year when I was in your theory course, and I was just like, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like what do I like what do I have going for me? And then I was like, okay, so there's music. And then we had been to Tiffin before, so I had met some people. And then after I had like visited, met professors, did my audition and everything, I would like music was like the one thing that was really, really going for me, and it was the one thing that I could see myself enjoying as like also a job if that was how I intended to pursue it. So
Sure.
so that was definitely I started pretty late, but it also like it's worked out really well so far. And yeah.
And you're an example, just like Jillian was, of where you started in your musical journey isn't where you ended in your musical journey, because you started on saxophone.
Yeah.
And but let's go even before saxophone. Do you remember being interested in music before fifth grade band? Like when you got started, did you do anything before fifth grade that maybe sticks out?
Um, Not really. I think it was just kind of something that a lot of middle schoolers do, where they're just kind of like, "Oh, this could be cool," and then they go into
Yeah.
it, and then they kind of go through those 4 years, and then if they choose to move on to it in high school, that's what they do. I think that's how it started for me, at least.
Yeah.
And then
And then the world kind of just opens up
yeah, yeah,
to
for sure.
to a certain extent. So let's talk about now. This could be in multiple time periods in your life, or you could just say it in general. But who would you say has been your biggest musical inspiration? It could be a person or an artist. It could be anyone who's inspired you musically, and it could be an artist you enjoy listening to.
Uh, yeah, I would say like I've been listening to a lot of indie artists lately, and that's been a very different place that I used to listen to, but that has been a more like current inspiration as far as like if I'm writing music, because I've started to pick up on that. I've started like started making my own stuff, and I'd say like indie artists are where you can kind of find a lot of like the weird like niche things that don't necessarily happen in a lot of popular music, and that's a cool thing that you can kind of just expand on as you start to get more ideas and things. And as far as like my initial like this person makes me want to do music, it's corny and cheesy, but I'd seriously say you, because you were like you were the first person outside of like my family that was just like, yeah, like if you're gonna do music, like that'd be a really awesome thing. And like my parents were obviously, they were all for it too, because like when your kid finds a passion, you want to do your best to try to
Sure.
help them pursue that. And but yeah, I would definitely say between my parents and you guys were really my main like inspirations towards actually pursuing music as a career.
So let's go back to your career in high school.
Mhm.
What experiences did you have at Benjamin Logan that you think were the most impactful to your musical career so far?
I would say the my senior musical, and
You were the
just
mayor.
pretty much, yeah, Mr. Mayor in Seussical. And then just any of the other stuff where I was just kind of like kind of thrown into it, like when I did when you asked me to do like sound and lights for the play, and when I did like the pit band for show choir.
You know,
I
there's only one King Krupa.
think, oh man, but I would say I'd say those were my three main ones, like my three main specific experiences, because it was kind of one of those things where I didn't know if I wanted to do it, but there were the people there that were telling me I should, because it would be good for me, and I was just like, ah, and then I did it, and it wound up being like some of the best experiences that I could have had. And as far as like developmentally, those were things that like really pushed me along as a musician too.
What was your favorite performance? I'm just interested.
I would definitely say oh shoot, I can't, it was whenever King Krupa started. I don't know which. It was in show choir. I
So
just
that
don't
would
know
have been,
which.
yeah, that would have been the backup band for show choir.
Was that junior or senior year?
Hmm, that was your senior year.
Okay. It feels like it's so far away, you know?
Yeah, it does.
Like it feels like everything went so fast, which is crazy.
How about in college so far? What's been your favorite performance you've done?
The musical was great. The musical was probably one of the best experiences I've had so far, because it was a super mature experience,
Hmm.
especially like with doing Spring Awakening. That's a very like going from Seussical to Spring Awakening. They're like
Yeah,
two
those are
opposite
those are
ends.
those are polar opposites right there.
Yeah, but I definitely say that the Spring Awakening musical is a lot of fun, and it was like probably my most impactful performance, because
So maybe,
I was terrified to do it too. Like it was kind of the same situation where my professors were just like, just audition. That's all we ask. Just audition, see how it goes, see how you like it. And then I auditioned, and then I got a named part, and then it went from there, and it kind of just took off.
that's how
So
it works. I mean,
yeah,
you gotta take those risks before you
yeah.
can. Yeah. Um, so speaking of that performance, and you could have you may have already answered this question, but if you had to think about what performance you would want to relive, like let's say you get an option, not to redo your performance, but let's say you just got to experience it one more time, what would that be? What would be that one thing we could plop you down into a performance just to experience it one more time?
Yeah, I honestly, this is a really strange answer, but sophomore year when we did the Fall Out Boy show,
Okay.
that was my first year on tenors, and that was my first year kind of getting into that. That year had particularly difficult like show music, which
Mhm.
was cool. And I'd say just to be able to relive like that, like those moments and that experience, I'd say reliving that show would be really cool. That's
Yeah.
one that I've always looked back on, and I've just been like, yeah, I love that show. Like that was one show that specifically like I really enjoyed.
Yeah, that was a good show. We made the playoffs that year
Yeah, we
because
did.
that was the year we did that show in, gosh, where'd we go? Where'd we go for that?
Jonathan Alder.
Port Clinton,
Oh, Port Clinton. That's
right?
yeah.
Didn't we? Because remember we had to stop halfway for that subway and. got dinner, and
I don't remember that.
we
Holy
stopped
cow.
we stopped at a church on the way. We drove about an hour.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah,
Remember that? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Man, that was a good time. That was fun.
yeah. That was a lot of fun.
Um, Dalton, what would you say your favorite place to perform is?
Um, I mean, keeping it very general, I'd pretty much just say like outdoors. I like outdoor gigs are really cool, especially like when I'm drumming. It gets warm regardless of temperature, and it's nice to just like have a breeze coming through and have an audience and be able to play music, and that's a neat thing.
Yeah, I've always liked playing outdoors too. It's a lot of fun. As long as you don't have an outdoor gig and then they still want to have the gig and it's terrible outside, and those, I always hate that part. But other than that, outside is a lot of fun. We've talked music a lot. What do you like doing outside of music? What are you keeping busy with?
I'd say especially with all this stuff, I've kind of just been working ahead on homework on a lot of things, trying to get everything done. That way I can relax before finals week hits, because I think finals week is like a week or two out.
Okay.
I can't remember if it's next week or the week afterwards. But other than that, I've kind of just been playing video games. It's been a pretty easy thing to occupy my time. I've been trying to take walks here and there
Sure.
to keep myself relatively active.
Okay.
So,
Let's talk about some of your musical preferences.
okay.
So, if you had to pick your three favorite artists, who would they be?
Oh boy. Um, well, I've mainly over the last couple of years I've always listened to a lot of metal music. That's been the main like genre that has stuck out for me. I'd say going that route, Architects and Ocean's 8 Alaska are two really good metal bands. And then Eden, he's an independent artist,
Mhm.
and he does like a lot more like pop music kind of stuff. And they're two very different things, but they're both kind of artists, or all three of those are kind of artists that I can kind of go back to pretty consistently and just like listen to their music. And
Would you say those artists have been inspiring for you, like as you're creating your own music?
uh, I definitely say the Eden has. I would only say that Architects and Ocean's 8 Alaska haven't, because I haven't gotten into writing that kind of music yet. I'd love to. It's just part of writing that style of music also means you have to have a very specific vocal technique. You have to be able to, if you want to actually like write out parts and everything, got to be able to play guitar really well, got to be able to play bass really well. And those are just things that like I'm working on, definitely, but it's not.
Sure.
I haven't gotten to a level comfortable enough to write yet.
Are you doing a lot of composing?
Yeah, more transcribing,
Okay.
but I've been writing like, especially with like a lot of the theory knowledge that I've gathered between my senior year and these past two semesters, because I've been doing theory courses too, and I've been able to like figure out like major and minor scales and how you can write things in certain keys and how you can borrow chords from other keys and how all that starts to work. And I'm still at a very like base level set of it, as far as like knowing what can work with what and how melodies can interact with chords and stuff, and how chord changes can influence a song. But
Well, that's why you're still in school.
well, yeah, definitely.
You know, it all comes eventually. You know. So, with that being said, like if you could, so you just gave me three artists, but let's say the doors opened and you could pick both past artists, current artists. If you could sit down tomorrow with one artist and collaborate with them or just pick their brain, who would that be?
Oh man, I would say Thomas Lang. He is a pretty popular drummer, and he's crazy technical. Like you could spit out six different techniques that you can do on your hands and feet, and he could replicate them on both his hands and feet. It's crazy, like the way that I'd say I'd love to pick his brain about like how he has developed all these things and been able to store such a like vast knowledge of just like drumming technique and being able to learn all those things. Oh, and as far as an artist, I just recently, as part of my vocal lessons, started listening to Chet Baker, which was definitely, it wasn't something that I was anticipating at first, because I was doing a lot more like typical poppy songs, like stuff that and then did some musical stuff too, just because it was like stuff I was comfortable with at least. And then Alex Manfredo, she's my vocal coach for this semester, and she was just like, "You ever tried singing like jazz tunes and doing like improv?" And I was just like, "No," and then she uh oh shoot, I can't remember the name of the song. It Could Happen to You, I think was
Yeah.
the name of the song. Uh, but going back to the core of why I mentioned him, it'd be really cool to just like, especially with that being like an older artist, being able to just like see where their perspective was at in music, and kind of being able to get some ideas from them as far as like kind of being able to round out my musical knowledge, because I mean I have a lot more of like the current stuff, but there's not a lot of like older tunes and like older artists that I've listened to, so that'd be really neat.
Sure. Yeah, and a lot of what you can pick for a lot of times when you're building for the future of your music, taking inspiration from those past artists can be huge. What advice have you been given throughout your life thus far that is, in your opinion, been the most beneficial for you?
Yeah, I think kind of having to realize, especially as a musician, you're your own worst critic, and you can't let that be something that holds you back. Like there have been countless times where I'll be in lessons, or I'll be practicing something, and like I'll just have to shut my brain off, because if I don't, then I can't like push through. And that's the biggest thing, is just being able to just like go for whatever it is you're trying to do. Just go for it. Like, don't try and psych yourself out and overanalyze things, because then it makes it a lot more difficult to progress. And then that can obviously it can continuously stump you over and over and over. Like, it's happened to me plenty of times, especially developing my voice specifically. It's like there are so many things that you try to figure out why this is doing this, and it's really just more of a, you just got to trick your brain a little bit and kind of just go for whatever it is you're trying to learn.
What advice would you give high schoolers that are going to continue in music or continue playing and performing?
Oh yeah, I I would say a lot of things is don't get discouraged, because like you're gonna, especially if you're going to like a bigger school, if you choose to go to like a larger college, you're going to be going up against a lot of people that are pretty much at the same level as you. But you can't use that as like, you don't want to try and use that as an excuse to like not know your worth and not be able to recognize the value of your talent that you already have. And then on top of that, like uh, when I first went in to school for music, I was like really scared, because the school that I was going to was pretty expensive, and I was going for something that you may not be able to find a career like it and that in a way works uh, quite the same in a lot of jobs, because you could go and get a degree and not get a job. But it's if you're going into college, you just need to know that if you want something bad enough, you have the means to get yourself there no matter what. And especially specifically with music, like as long as you just try as hard as you can, like you will get somewhere that you want to be.
Well, Daulton, thank you very much for talking with us today.
Yeah, thank you, it's been
I
a blast.
appreciate it. Man, it's been great to hear from you and get some of your insights on the world from the great Daulton Shields. Thanks, Daulton, for talking with us today, and I really appreciate you taking the time to fill us in on your insights into music. Appreciate it, man. Talk to you later.
Yeah, thanks, see you everybody.